After cycling 3,000 kilometers from England to the capital of Bosnia, Sarajevo, and spending about a month here, spending my time here catching up on the calories and exploring the historic city, to finding magical waterfalls in the countryside and conspiracies of the lost pyramids that are claimed to be bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. I had enjoyed my time in Bosnia, but it was time for me to get back on my bike for the first time since arriving and start my next adventure, albeit a much shorter one. I would now be pedaling my way out of the capital of Bosnia towards the capital of Serbia. Bikepacking to Belgrade meant I would have around 300 kilometers ahead of me, plenty of elevation to climb to get to the Serbian border. With one last pedal out of Sarajevo, one last goodbye, with all the houses stacked above each other on the hillsides, I would be climbing out of the city on the narrow streets, where I would get one final look back on the old castle and the city below, before leaving the city on the old railway line originally constructed by the Austro-Hungarian Empire back in 1906. This old railway line carves its way through the Dinaric Alps, connecting Sarajevo all the way to Belgrade until the late 1970s, when the trains stopped running and that line was left to fall to the elements. Today, and as of very recently, this line was reopened from Sarajevo to Pale as a cycling and walking trail. With incredible views of the mountains, dark tunnels, it was a great way to start my journey to Belgrade, and it seemed everyone had the same idea today, to come out and check this new line. It was by far the most cyclists I had seen since arriving in Bosnia.
Shout out to Kelly for keeping me company. First cyclist I feel like I've seen since arriving in Bosnia on that lovely, just apparently finished railway line, which was very nice. But I'm going to start heading uphill now for a little while. Actually, most of the start of this ride will be uphill. Most of the day will be uphill. Ideally, I'd like to get a little bit of that climbing done. Maybe get to the point of where I can start tomorrow with a nice descent. I don't know, we'll see. As always, wild camping. I haven't actually fixed or managed to get a replacement for my rack yet. Ultimately, they wanted me to send it back, which would have cost me more than the rack costs. So I don't think I'll be getting warranty on that, because I've chucked the front bit away because I didn't want to carry it. But let's go uphill. Got some beautiful sun for today. Bit too hot for me, but I won't complain. I'll just keep reapplying the sun cream.
The first 50 kilometers ahead towards Belgrade were going to be a long uphill battle. When I first arrived in Bosnia, the snow had begun to fall, but after the last couple of weeks, it had slowly started to melt as the sun finally returned. That left the trails I was now following in rough condition. They were already too steep to ride, and now with fallen trees scattered across the path and deep muddy ruts carved into the ground. In places the mud had dried just enough to cross, but one wrong step meant sinking straight in. It was going to be a slow, precarious start as I worked my way over the first set of climbs.
Oh God, that has been an absolute slog. I've done about 35k. I mean, that was the first little climb. I've still got another climb to go. And this is probably about 10k, something like that. This is going to take us up to the highest point. I think I'm going up there somewhere. I'm not so concerned about the snow now. Kind of, most of it's melted, especially over here apparently. This is the hot side, I can definitely tell. Back there though was a bit of a slog. A lot of hiking, fallen trees, big rutty bits of mud. They just sink in. Time to try and get over that.
Leaving the rutty, muddy trails behind, there was still more pushing the bike to come, and the afternoon sun was making an already hard start feel even tougher, draining my energy. But the higher I climbed, the better it started to get. The forest tracks started to open up, swapping muddy tracks for gravel tracks. More pedaling than walking now. Climbing up to the highest point of this adventure to Belgrade, getting up to just over 4,500 feet. It had been one long hard push to the start of this adventure, but one that would prove to be totally worth the effort.
That has been one pretty hard start to the ride. Started to descend though, so that's good. And it does mean, because I'm at like the highest point I'm starting to descend, it is pretty much all in a downhill direction towards Serbia. There's obviously a few hills, but no stop early tonight. I was on 50k and like 4,300 feet of climbing and pretty much no descending so far. Now it's only 5:30. Sunset isn't until 7:30, but where I am is really quiet. Gonna have today as a little easing myself back into riding. I haven't really ridden since arriving in Bosnia. A little bit on the city bikes. Today is also Sunday, and it would be quite nice to wake up early in the morning, head downhill, probably go to a supermarket, grab some supplies and whatnot. All stocked up really, but you know, always nice. It was a beautiful day, just bloody tiring.
Oh, so much for getting up early and cracking on with the day. I didn't wake up till 7:30. Sunrise was about 6. I don't know why, I was just so tired. But yeah, we're going today. I think I'm going to make it to the Serbian border at least, a minimum. It's about 50 miles, so I don't know, 80 kilometers, something like that. We should definitely make that. And to be honest, today is mostly downhill. Got to drop a bit of elevation now. I'm probably about 4,000 feet now, maybe just below. And then I'm going to be dropping down a bit, and then it kind of flattens out a bit. It goes up a little bit. But then we drop a lot of elevation after maybe another, I don't know, 16k down below that 1,000 feet. So I'm looking forward to that descent. And then it's basically just one climb, which is, I think it is off-road, and it'll probably be going through forest tracks and stuff, so it's looking a bit steeper, so it might be a bit slower, might be a bit harder and grueling. But after that hill,
after we get up there, it's all downhill to the border. So it should be a fairly-ish quick day, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes well. It's also not as hot today, it's a bit overcast and cloudy, so it means them climbs won't be as hot, but them descents might be a little chilly. Let's go see what the day has in store for us, shall we? Nice and steep. A little rough.
Leaving my camp this morning, still half asleep after yesterday's tough start, but pushing on yesterday to reach the highest point meant I was starting today with a downhill. It made for a much cooler and more refreshing start to the day, that's for sure. For the first time since arriving in Bosnia about a month ago, looking out over the country in the direction I was heading, it was starting to look a little less mountainous. There were still a few hills to come, but the landscape ahead looked far less rugged and demanding than what I had become used to.
Well, it's definitely feeling a little bit less mountainous now. Still hilly, but I wouldn't call these mountains anymore. I do still have a bit of climbing to do now. Sort of a long, well, I say long, a gradual, maybe like 16k uphill. I was looking at the map before I plotted it, and I decided I'd make my mind up when I'm here, depending on how I feel and everything, and if I will follow the road or you can take a left and should just go up through some back roads, but it will be a little bit more hillier as I'll have to climb a hill over there, and it will not completely wipe out that road, but it might it will definitely shorten it a bit, and hopefully might be gravel like this. Hoping when I get to the border there's not a really long queue, because when I came into Bosnia there was a really long queue to leave, so I'm hoping it's maybe the other way around this time. Everyone wants to come back in, I don't know. Let's go see if I'm going to take this road or not. But right now we got lots of rubbish on some lovely gravel.
One thing I had found while making my way through Bosnia was that it could be hard to stay off the main roads for long. One moment I would be enjoying these remote gravel tracks through the countryside, then sooner or later they would always lead me back to that busy road again. But with the mountains starting to thin out, there are a few more options now to avoid the main roads. And say what you want about Bosnia, the support dogs are never far away, always ready to give you the encouragement you need when you choose the lesser travelled path, following along for as long as their little legs can keep up. Turning away from the road turned out to be a great decision, finding myself lost in the Bosnian countryside one last time, passing through tiny villages tucked deep into the hills, adding a bit more elevation to the ride, and of course that meant getting rewarded with more incredible views. From gravel to tarmac and back to gravel. That's just how the back roads around here are. But of course, all these roads eventually lead back to the same main road. Luckily, taking the detour today meant that when I finally rejoined it, most of the climbing was already done and I would start descending. Descending only to the foot of the next climb, of course, but I was getting close to losing a lot of that elevation I had become accustomed to.
It suddenly just got very, very cold, and there's a bit of rain in the old sky. It's mostly passing showers though, so I think we're good. I'm very close to the point where I'm going to start descending. I've got maybe like 2 kilometers, 3 at most, of gradual climbing, and then a long old good descent. It is about midday, so I think once I get to the top, before I descend, I'll probably stop and have a little bite to eat. Hoping the descent's going to be rideable. I mean, I think a lot of it is off-road, but you never know around here. 1 minute you're on a road like this, and next minute you never know. Either you're off-road on some boggy descent or some beautiful descent. But whatever the case is, I will be going below 1,000 feet from about 3,500 feet, so it should be a long descent. But yeah, let's go find somewhere to stop for a bit of lunch.
Now that I was at the top, it was time for a quick stop before I'd finally begin the descent. Dropping from 3,500 feet to below that 1,000 foot mark for the first time since maybe Slovenia. As soon as I got back on the bike, the tarmac turned to gravel, and the further I descended, the more I started to notice the difference. Not only was it getting warmer the longer I let gravity do its thing, but the colours were changing too. Everything was becoming greener. Less rocky, less rugged. It was not just endless pine trees anymore. And while it felt good to lose height for once, part of me did not want it to end. Bosnia had been hard work, but this moment, this descent, this place right here was the exact place I wanted to be. This remote valley was one of the most beautiful parts of the journey. The mountains either side, the forests, the remote tracks, just the sheer remoteness to it. With every meter I dropped, it felt like I was slowly leaving all that behind. I knew the closer I got to Serbia, the flatter the land would become, and as I rolled lower down the gravel road, I was already starting to miss them before they were even gone.
Wow, that looks fun, doesn't it? Oh yeah, on the final climb before Serbia now. And of course, we're going to have to do a bit of bike. It's pretty damn steep. Luckily, the climb isn't too long. It does go up to about, I think, back to about 2,500 feet. I'm just at about 1,000 now. And then it's all downhill to Serbia. It's currently 2:30. Done 73.38 kilometers. So pretty good. That descent back there just went on and on and on. So good. Helped get them get a few more Ks in the bank. But final little challenge. And being down this low, I think that's the first time I've been below 1,000 for maybe since Slovenia. Continue hiking. I probably could ride it, it's a road, but I'm just too lazy. Quite honestly, I'm just too bloody lazy.
Maybe Bosnia did not want me to leave, or maybe those elevation profiles never quite tell the full story, because while I slowly made my way up and over the last hurdle before the Serbian border, it was anything but straightforward. The further I went, the more beautiful it became here, constantly tempting me to stop and look back across the incredible landscape behind me. But the more I pushed forward, the slower the terrain began to get, back into the deep, rutty, muddy trails, and the harder I had to work. What looked like a simple bump on the map ended up being much more work than I anticipated, so by the point the dirt roads turned back to tarmac, I was all but knackered and ready to get to the Serbian border.
That has been one hell of a slog, but I'm up and I'm over. Lovely. But because of how long that's taken, it is 6 p.m. So an hour and a half until the sun sets. I am very close to the border now. I'm pretty much just heading to the, what do you call it, the border control now. Probably a couple of kilometres. I'm really hoping that I can get through nice and fast. Hopefully they'll let me in, and it'll be pretty much straight into Serbia and start looking for somewhere to camp. Now, I'm not sure how easy that's going to be, because I know for the start of it I'm pretty much just on a road, so it might be hard. But let's just see if we can get through quickly, hopefully before it gets dark.
Luckily, when I arrived at the border, just like when I entered Bosnia, I was the only one there. Now, I was the only one leaving. But since it had taken me so long to get over the remainder of Bosnia this evening, I now had a race against the sun to find somewhere to sleep for the night. It was a race that was already looking like I would not win. And not only would I lose the race against the sun, I was also about to get wet. Welcome to Serbia.
Well, good morning, good morning. Last night was a bit of a crazy one. Across that border, all I could see behind me was this big grey cloud incoming, and unfortunately it was able to catch me up because obviously I had to go uphill, and there was like nowhere to camp. You can kind of see that everything's on a big slant because I'm still climbing the first climb. Luckily I managed to find maybe the only bit of flat ground just up there, and I managed to camp there. It's quite close to the road, but to be honest it wasn't too bad because it's a fairly quiet road. But in doing so, in having to ride into the night and get very wet, I managed to do about 120k in the end, and I think I've got about 120 left as well. So potentially, this hat, honestly, potentially I will finish today. I feel like I can definitely make it to Belgrade today, because especially where I am now, once I get up to the top of this climb, which is probably like 1 or 2k left, I go descend, and then there's like one more climb, but it doesn't reach as high as this point, and then down, and then maybe one more. Because as I get closer and closer to Belgrade, it just gets flatter
and flatter and flatter. So once I'm over this climb, which is probably the hardest one, next one's probably a little steep, but again, not that long. It's pretty much all downhill. It did say it was going to be raining right now, but currently it's not, so happy days. Hopefully I can stay dry today. Last night just absolutely pelted it down. Most of the night it pelted it down too. But day 3 of cycling from Sarajevo all the way to Belgrade. Let's go uphill for the start of the day. Luckily I'm nearly at the top. There was definitely no time for a lay-in like yesterday morning. Today I was up at the crack of dawn to give myself the best possible chance of making it to the capital of Serbia today. I also just really wanted to shake that damp feeling of the night I just had. And knowing that it was going to get progressively easier and flat as the day went on was a welcome relief. While the low clouds continued rolling over, the biggest difference I had noticed since crossing the border was just how quiet it had gotten. A little less mountainous now meant it was easier to get lost in these gravel roads.
It really is absolutely stunning out here today, and as I'm heading towards Belgrade, I'm also heading away from that rain and that gloomy weather and back into the sunshine by the looks of it. So happy days. I'm nearly at the top of the last climb as well, so I'm going to start descending soon. I mean, it's like this everywhere. It's so quiet as well. Just like gravel everywhere. So nice. I've got about just under 100k to go. 99 I think it is. So hopefully should be able to make it. I did wake up super early this morning, so no laying in like yesterday. Once I descend, I'm gonna go into some town or city, I think it's a town. See if I can grab a few supplies for the rest of the day, and then it's all flat and downhill really as I leave them mountains behind. I'm like a bird, I wanna fly away. Just stopped off, had a bite to eat and chocolate milk, so well fueled now. And it's flat and downhill all the way now to Belgrade, and at least for a little while, a tailwind too. So I've done 46k and I've got about 70 to go, and it's actually only about 11. So I think I'll definitely make it today. I think for the most part, we just got nice, undulating, flat, kind of downhill roads. So let's get these legs in gear and feel the hills that I've come over. But now it's time for flat land. Yeah, pedal! Can't park there, mate.
There's such a different feel as you travel across different regions, and now I was in the flatlands, I could definitely feel the difference now. No more big mountains to get around, but then people working in the fields and lots of tractors and rolling quiet roads. It was looking like it would be a nice finish into the capital. Just a quick bit of hide and seek in a bush to hide from the passing showers. I would make my way along the river Sava, which would lead me towards the capital, not before a quick visit to my long lost old Paolo. And there it was, Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, sitting along the second longest river in Europe, the River Danube, stretching all the way from the Black Forest in Germany to the Black Sea. Serbia has had a long, complex history, and Belgrade, being one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in Europe, meant there was a lot to take in. One of the first places I came across was the Eternal Flame Memorial, built in 2000 in Friendship Park. It was dedicated to military and civilian casualties resulting from the NATO bombing of Yugoslavia. The monument itself has had a complicated history. It was vandalized shortly after construction, and the gas supply was cut. Because it was originally built quickly and without following full legal standards, it existed in a sort of unofficial state for years. In March 2020, it was announced that the monument would be legalized and the flame relit on the 21st anniversary of the bombings. Over in one of the older parts of Belgrade, the Church of St. Michael, also known as the Cathedral Church. Built between 1837 and 1840, it was one of the most important Serbian Orthodox churches in the country. Its tall bell tower is a landmark of the old city, and inside are tombs and relics linked to the important figures in Serbian history. Nearby sits Belgrade Fortress, and one of the oldest and most significant sites in the city. The fortress stands on high ground above the meeting of the Sava and the Danube rivers. This position made it strategically important for centuries, and the site has seen Celtic, Roman, Byzantine, Ottoman, Austrian and Serbian control. What stands today is a mixture of fortification from different areas. The upper fortress contains the most visible defensive walls, gates and towers, many of which were expanded during the Austrian periods in the 17th and 18th centuries, when the site was heavily fortified, designed for cannon warfare with thick angled walls and wide open spaces for artillery positions. The fortress today, though, is less about defence and more about public space with wide walkways and viewpoints over the rivers. Close to where I was staying in Zemun, the Gardus Tower, also known as the Millennium Tower. It was completed in 1896 under Austro-Hungarian rule, when this area was part of the empire's southern frontier. It was built to mark 1,000 years of Hungarian settlement in the region. Sitting high on the hill above Zemun, with incredible panoramic views across the Danube and back over the city. The Church of St. Sava, it is one of the largest Orthodox churches in the world, and one of the biggest church buildings anywhere in Europe. Built on the site where the relics of St. Sava were burned in 1595. Construction began in the 20th century and continued for decades. St. Sava himself was a 12th and 13th century Serbian monk and the first archbishop of the independent Serbian Orthodox Church. He is one of the most important figures in Serbian history, credited with establishing the church and helping shape early Serbian identity. Walking up to the church, it is instantly staggering just how big it feels, and walking inside is something else. The main space is already overwhelming in size, with vast open floor and a dome that rises dramatically above. The interior is covered in detailed mosaics and painted decoration, with large-scale religious scenes covering the curved walls and ceilings. The mosaics continue across huge sections of the interior, built to be viewed from far below, which adds to the sense of scale when you are standing underneath them.